We are back on MorningLine this morning. Nick Beres along with Marla Williams. She's with Legal Aid. We're talking this morning about something that we all see here in Tennessee on TV ads and the like, payday loans, flexible credit, that type of thing. You know, it's a means for folks who can't get credit at normal banks to go and get money short term if they need it. And on its surface, of course, it's all legal. Really, what is wrong with it? I mean, Legal Aid's involved. What do you do for your clients in this case? These are folks who take out these loans of their own free will. The question can be asked, did they really understand what they were getting themselves into? But you know, it's just part of the way money's loaned legally.
Yes, it is. And often, if there is nothing we can do with regard to the amount that the lender says is owed, we can help if the customer who is our client has been sued. We can tell them how to protect their wages from being garnished. And I don't know if you know that if there is a judgment, so if the borrower is sued and there's a judgment against them, the judgment creditor, who is the entity with the judgment, can take personal property. So in a situation where a client of ours has a vehicle that they own, we will teach them or advise them or help them file the proper forms to protect property, and they can protect under the law up to $10,000 worth of their own personal property.
What other kind of property do they sometimes try to take? A car's an obvious one. Motorcycles. What else would they take? If you had a nice rocking chair on the front porch, I'm just curious. What can they do?
Usually it's just cars.
Vehicles. Okay.
And money in the bank. If you have money in the bank, you know, we looked at a lot during the, well, COVID is still going on, but when the stimulus money was coming in, we did some community education to let people know to, you know, if they have a judgment against them, make sure that you've got the form that you can file, the exemption form that would be used to protect any personal property, including your vehicle, can also protect money that you have in the bank if you fill in the proper information. So if you want to say, you know, I've got my vehicle, but I want to protect up to a certain amount in my bank account at this bank, you file that with the court. And so if the judgment creditor attempts to execute upon money you have in the bank, that form, the exemption form, protects that money from being taken to pay the judgment.
These legal battles are civil. I know you oftentimes hear the lenders threatening the borrowers if they haven't paid the debt that we're going to take out a warrant.
Right.
And they claim we're going to seek criminal charges against you. That's baloney.
It is. And it's a serious threat, but it's not. You know, they may say
civil. It's not criminal.
It's a civil warrant, but I think they want people to believe that it is a criminal action that they can.
Oh,
file.
Sure, that would get my attention if I'm not paying, and I think, well, they're going to sue me civilly. Maybe they'll take my car, but they have to catch me. But all of a sudden, I'm going to be in handcuffs and go behind bars. That's a threat that you know, definitely I guess I would take more seriously. But that's not. You don't go to jail for failing to pay a debt in these instances.
You do not. There's no debtors' prisons in Tennessee.
Right. So you have to. That's an important thing to know. Okay. I mean,
well, often people call us or come in and they're concerned that they
because
can
they've
go to
received
jail
that threat, or
because they've been told that they could get a warrant, and you know, certainly they do not say we can get a civil warrant. But anytime you use the word warrant, that's gonna scare people.
Oh yeah. If you don't say civil warrant, you're assuming it's criminal. Okay. The average individual is going to assume that.
Right.
And so that sometimes can be enough maybe to try to scare people into finding a way to get money to pay them back.
Right.
I mean, the truth is, I would imagine most of these people would, if they could, like to pay back the money they owe. I hope most people would want to do that. It's just, it's grown to such an amount that they were, let's be clear on this, the folks who are taking out these loans are folks who, for the most part, are poor, correct?
Right.
You know, I'm never going to go to one of these places and get a loan under any circumstance. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
But part of it is I have some means. Hey, if I didn't have money, I wouldn't go there either.
Right.
But
and you know, poor is also the working poor. I mean, these people have jobs. Some of them, and some of them are receiving, you know, disability benefits. But I mean, it's not like you're, as you said before, you know, in the car, you're not destitute, but you're still poor. You work, but you still don't make enough to really meet your necessities.
When you talk about, we're going to get some calls here in a moment, when you talk about the idea of someone needing this money. Now, it's one thing if you really need the money because you desperately need to pay the light bill or put food on the table for your children. I get the sense sometimes people just say, well, I'm going to go get one of these loans because I need a nice new dress for this week. I don't know, whatever the reasons may be. But you say, look, I wouldn't recommend that you do this. There have got to be other ways. If someone's in a squeeze, they have no credit, okay, maybe they don't have a wealthy friend they can turn to, what are their other options?
Well, I mean, a credit card is even better than this type of loan.
If you can, and these days credit cards give credit cards to just about anyone.
Right.
And so even if you're going to fall into debt in a credit card, that you would say is better.
Oh, it's definitely better. If you have to, I mean, just compare the, like I said, the APR for a flex loan is 279.5%. You can get a credit card, and certainly your credit score would, you know, influence the interest rate you get with a credit card, but it's not ever going to be that high.
That's a really good point. Not that she's sitting here advocating credit cards are going into debt one way or the other, but if you just have to have it, the obvious solution would be try to put it off, try to save a little money, you know, try to put off whatever you're thinking of buying until you can pay for it a bit more. Let's take a few phone calls. We'll go to Stacy. Stacy, good morning. Hi, Stacy.
Good morning, Nick.
Morning.
I've got a situation where I'd like to warn people against these. They're not payday loans, but they're structured settlements. There's a company, I'll stay away from names if you want me to do that, but I think it's pretty familiar. They do a lot of advertising, and their phone numbers and their jingle and everything like that. It's very catchy. What attracted me to them was I started paying attention to their ads, and they were offering gift cards in exchange for just getting a quote. And I thought, well, I'm serious about this to some extent. I have an annuity, and I've passed all the surrender periods and everything, and I'm getting the payouts. But if they've got a better offer, then, you know, at least I'll look into it. And the other thing was that I have a situation where it involves a family business, and I'm getting checks from that. I'm sort of a silent partner. It's a business started by my grandparents, or my grandfather's generation. But in any event, it's not liquid, and it's there are stipulations in the agreement, the partnership agreement, that what I would have to do upon my death, which I don't want to do. And it's just different things like that. So they sort of looked into the second one, and they said, well, we really don't deal with that, but let's see what we can do with this annuity. And then they were bringing up the amount of the gift card, and I said, wait a minute, that's not what was promised on the commercial. And then and the fact that after that, the commercials, they lowered the amount, because I think, like you said, it was kind of tied to the pandemic and maybe what they thought they would have to give out versus whatever. But anyway, so they wanted some information about this annuity, and so and I will say this on their behalf. They said something about, you know, we want this, and they told me what it was, but it's so complicated I never have heard of it. So it was like I'd have to talk to the insurance company to get them what they wanted. But they said, when you send this, you know, you can block out your Social Security number, which, if I had thought about it, I probably would have asked them about doing that, but I hadn't. So it was to their credit that they even indicated that.
All right, hang tight on that, because we've got a lot of calls coming in. Stacey, are you familiar kind of what she was referring to there?
I have heard of structured settlements, but I don't have any, you know, experience with that.
And that's why, Stacey, it may have been a little bit off. I see where Stacey was going with that. one part that she hit with me is just the complexity of it and the understanding of it. And, you know, when these folks go into it, and she just described it there, and is it similar with other things about really, you know, if you can ask these questions, and I wonder how many of these folks actually do ask many questions going in, it can be pretty complicated, can't it?
It can. And, you know, what she said about, you know, her receiving the gift card and then that wasn't what was agreed to, that's often what we hear. In other types of cases, but again, I, you know, like I said, I don't have any experience with structured settlements, but it's kind of like the same, though, with, you know, the contract.
Yep.
Fine print, and I don't know if there was fine print in Stacy's case to say what was going to happen or what would happen with the gift card, but lots of issues where in a lot of these, with these types of loans, folks just really don't understand what they're getting into.
Yeah, you just don't. We have to go to a break, but you don't want to sign something unless you read it or look into it. But you understand in these circumstances when they go in, and I'm guessing again, some of them are poor, they're desperate for some money. You wonder how educated they are to begin with, one way or the other, and do they really take the time to ask the questions? And I don't blame them if they don't. They need the money, and they make it super easy when you go in.
Oh yeah.
Paying it back's the hard part, and so yeah, it's set up really. This business, you see why it's working for those who run these businesses. We'll take a break. When we come back, Lynn, Sue Ellen, and others, if you're on hold, we'd like to hear from you as we're talking about these types of payday loans, flexible credit, things like that, right after this. Stay with us.